What's up, guys? Welcome to your 172nd Android tutorial for the new Boston. What we're going to do is still work with this, GL triangle example class. And all we've done so far is just basically set up a float, a list of floats, and there's no relation to OpenGL or anything like that. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to set up something called a float buffer. Because again, a few tutorials ago we used buffers, and they just are a way that we can render stuff to the screen. So we're going to call this like our vertice vert buff, maybe, for vertice buffers, and we're basically going to relate these vertices later. And we want to set this again just to be a private variable for now. And again, we have to add our imports. And also for this class we're going to need a constructor, because again, when we create an object we want to call the constructor and set everything up. So that's what we're going to set up real quickly, and this one's going to be public so other classes can use this constructor. And again, when we create a constructor, it has to be the same name as our class name. So triangle ex, and this isn't going to have any parameters within it. We could probably grow on that later, but we're just going to set that up. And within this triangle, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create a vertex buffer and a byte buffer, because the byte buffer is going to tell our application how much space we're using, how many kilobytes or bytes that we're using, and for each float that we use, that takes up 4 bytes. So our float list here has 6 different floats within it, so we're going to have to locate 24 bytes within our buffer. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our byte buffer. I know it's kind of confusing maybe a little bit for now, but we're just going to set up that byte buffer. We're going to call this bbuff. Going to set this equal to the byte buffer class and use the method .locate direct. And again, we just have to, it takes an int of the capacity that we're going to be using. So again, like I said, it's 24, but in case we add more vertices to this float array, we want to be able to handle that and tell our update our byte buffer and say, hey, we're using more memory than just 24. So we're going to relate to our list that we created called vertices, and we're just going to say .length. That's going to return how many floats are within our list, and as for now there's 6, so that's going to be 6. And for each float we use 4 bytes, so we're just going to times this by 4. So that's basically telling our buffer, this is how much we're using, which is 24 bytes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up the order within our byte buffer, and so we're just going to say bbuff.order, and you can see as it takes within its parameters a byte order. So we're going to click that one. And all we're going to say is we're going to relate to the byte order class, so byte order. And we're just going to say .native order, and that's just going to give us the native order for a byte buffer. So now what we need to do is we need to relate to this vertice buffer and kind of make the connection as well. So we're just going to say vert buffer, or vert buff I should say, and we're going to set this equal to our byte buffer, which we called bbuff dot as float, because there's different types of stuff that lists that we can have within a buffer, but since we're using floats, we're going to use this as a float buffer. And I spelled vert buff wrong, sorry. So set that up, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to say we need to put our list within this vertice buffer. So it knows that we're working with floats as for now, and we're just going to say vert buffer, or vert buff dot put, and then we have to put our float array in there, which we called vertices. And then all we're going to do is we're going to relate to our vert buff and tell it what position we want to start. So vert buff dot position, and we're going to start at position 0, or the top of our triangle. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I know it's kind of confusing as of now, but it'll sink in what we're actually doing in the next few tutorials. But I'll catch you guys then, and have a good one.